I'm glad we can answer that question. Let's move on to another one. Want to?
Let's talk about negative beliefs.
Negative beliefs?
I'm feeling negative. Let's talk about negative beliefs.
Yeah. Who isn't?
Yeah, right? Right? So where do they come from?
So I'll take a little bit of this one. I think one thing that people come to my office all the time is because they have a problem, right?
Yeah.
And what I notice is they're often saying very negative and hateful things to themselves and about their situation. And it becomes this very narrow hole that they start to go down. Right? It's things will never change. They're hopeless. And sometimes I get it. Sometimes I really do get it. They have not been shown much else in their life, and that is a generational thing. And so, right, negative beliefs aren't just coming from nowhere. They're coming from this generational trauma that has happened, and traumas that we all, incur over our lifetime. And then the reality of our brains is we want the path of least resistance. And so a lot of times these negative beliefs are coming in because they don't want you to change, right? It's normal this way, right?
It's safe. You were alive yesterday, you're going to be alive tomorrow if we do the same thing, even though it may not be what you want for you in your life. That those defenses will just say, no, I'm going to do this.
Yep. So it does take effort, and it takes rewiring of your brain to uncover and be aware that, what I'm saying is actually making this happen. Right. I want to give an example of something I had a client talk about today, was this self-fulfilling prophecy of, like, I'm going to be single forever. Right. I'm going to be single forever. I'm unlovable. And I'm like, I mean, if you think you're unlovable,
near and dear to my heart.
Right. No one can come and love you because you're unlovable. So it will always be true. So we have to go back and say, where did this come from? What's this negative belief that you're holding on to so strongly? It wasn't true. And so, right, like our work together and these retreats there's a huge part of our retreat that is focused on uncovering the negative belief and letting it go once and for all. Let it go. Leave it there in the cabin.
And listen, don't beat yourself up if you have a negative pattern going on, because it's how we're wired. You go all the way back to Lucy, which is like the first hominid that we identify as being the beginning of our chain of Homo sapien, right? And moving down the chain, right? Lived in the plains in Africa and survived. Well, Lucy's relatives may not have survived because they didn't have this negative bias of, oh, what's that wind rustling in the bushes? Is that a lion? Lucy was super focused on the negative of always something being there, so she survived. That got put into the gene pool and has come down to us today. Like, think of the news.
Yeah.
Is news ever positive?
No.
It's always reporting negative things. By nature, we want to see the negative, right? So we're always going to look at things from a negative bias first. So getting rid of that is like, it's work.
It is.
Because it's encoded in there and it's not normal. Like, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news 10 years. I haven't watched the news.
Right.
Because I realized that was just feeding my negative bias. And as long as I did that, I would continue to have an outlook of the world that was skewed to the negative.
Right.
So letting go of that. So we're going to do practices and things to unhook from that negative bias, right? And that was a great example that you gave, Adria. That was my story. That was a hard and fast truth for me, was that I was unlovable. So what do you think happened in every relationship? At some point, something would happen, a criticism, something like, not anything big, and it would validate my unlovable.
You're like, see, and then
They
like, oh
know
no, this
they know
isn't
I'm
working.
unlovable. Now I gotta go. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a bear. And not only does that keep you safe, I mean, so we
Mhm.
don't hate on it, but we can learn to kind of notice what negative beliefs are really sabotaging us.
Yeah.
And while it keeps you safe, it also keeps you trapped, right?
Totally.
That's a mega reason why we keep getting stuck in these cycles over and over, right? Like we write
Absolutely.
out on these goals for a little bit out of motivation, and then it's like, oh yeah, but I still actually believe all these things about myself.
Yeah,
On
right.
February 1st, like I've actually already thrown in the towel for everything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're committed to making sure this doesn't happen for anyone anymore, right? Like this is it. We're doing.
What we're doing here.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh,
we're doing.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have